Hi. At this point, we are on the free response portion of the test, so this is no longer multiple choice. You need your graphing calculator for this, and I'm going to be taking the information that's in size and putting it with this stat button that's over by your variable, the arrows, and I'm going to be putting that under L1 and the price under L2. So to do that, it doesn't matter which calculator you have as long as it's the TI. I'm going to press stat, and I want it to stay under edit, and I'm going to hit enter. And if you have any lists, anything that is filled out, like here, I don't want this stuff. What I want to do is go up to L3. I'm going to press the clear button, and then I'm going to press the enter button so it clears out the list. So take a moment, put the right data into L1 and L2, make sure you put the decimals and you don't miss any zeros. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to press the Y equals button after that's in there. And if you do have any equations in here, you want to clear them out, and then you want this plot 1 to be turned on. So here's a different calculator. So for instance, I don't want that. I hit clear, and I need to go up to plot 1, and so it's highlighted. All right, so now I'm going to go back to the stat button, and I'm going to scroll over to calc, and I want to do the line first. So I'm going to be choosing option number 4. And I'm going to have this, and then if you have the older model of the calculator, it's going to look a little different. So either one, what I need to do is get this to graph the equation that it's about to come up with. So I'm going to press this vars button, and I'm going to scroll over to yvars, and we're working with functions, so I'm going to press enter, and I want it to store into y1. I'm going to press enter, and then it's there, and on this version, just press enter. On this one, what I need to do is where do I want it to store this equation? So I have to scroll down, and now I'm going to press the vars button, scroll over to yvars, press 1 for function. We want to store it in y1. And now I have to scroll down to calculate, and then hit enter. So here, it doesn't matter which one we look at. So I'm going to use this one. It's a little brighter. And so I'm going to put the A and B into the A and B of this format here. So it's going to be, let me move the calculator. When I write this down, it's going to be y equals 0.02. I'm going to go quite a few decimal places. X plus my b, which is 1.047. Now, what's important is this r number here, this r squared number. And if you don't have it, write it down, and then I'll quickly show you how to get that turned on. But my r squared is 0.99, and r is called the correlation factor. It's how close is this value to 1 or to -1? We're looking at it being closer to 1 because this is a line that goes uphill. So this is pretty accurate. As a percentage, this is 99.5% accurate, okay? So, and again, this calculator has the same feature. So if your calculator does not have the R, this is what you need to do. You need to hit second, and then 0, because we're going to go to the catalog, and then we want to get to the D's, and the D's are attached to this X to the -1, so just press that and it'll get to the D's. I'm going to scroll down until I see diagnostics on. I'm going to hit enter, and then I have to confirm it needs to say done, so your diagnostics should be on. Alright, I'm going to clear this out, and I'm going to clear this out, and now I'm going to do the same, but I'm going to do this for the exponential. So press the stat button, scroll over to calc, and exponential is, you can't see it here, you actually have to scroll down, it's 0. Or you could just press 0. And again, the information's going to be the same. So let me show you on the other calculator what it should be looking like. Again, we want it to store in a certain spot, so this one I want to store in Y2. So in this one, just hit second, I'm sorry, not second, press the vars button, scroll over to yvars, press function, this time choose 2 because we're going to store it into y2, and press enter and you're done. And over here we're going to scroll down to this, we're going to press the vars button, scroll over to yvars, choose function, choose y2, so number 2, and then scroll back down to calculate and hit enter. And we'll get the same answer, but I'm going to use this screen. So this time I'm going to take A and B and put it into here. So it's 2 going a couple decimal places, 0.846 times b to the x power. So this is me writing this. And again, I want to know what r and r squared is. So looking at this one, r squared is about 0.895, and I really want r, it's 0.946. And now I'm going to do the last one, the quadratic. So for that one, again, you can just clear out your screen. So now I'm going to press Stat, scroll over to Calc. This time I'm going to choose option 5. And this time we got to get that equation to appear, so go down to Store. I'm going to go back to the original older format. Oh, that shouldn't be there. And I want to press the vars button, scroll over to yvars, choose function, so 1 or enter, and this time we want to go in 3. And then you can just press enter here. And then over here, scroll down to the store, then press vars, yvars, choose function, choose the third one again, and then scroll down to calc and press enter. And we'll have the same results. So what this is, what's this? This E, this means that this decimal is moving 5 times to the left. So A is pretty much 0, and when I take 0 times x squared, there is nothing here. So I'm just going to go ahead and write 0x squared, but realize I wouldn't even have that term, plus my B and my C. And this is just me rounding the decimals. And again, the R, this just has R squared is 0.996. So let's see what these look like graphed. So what you can do now is, if you hit the y equals button, it's taken all of those equations and it's put it in there for us. So to see this graph, what you need to do is press zoom, and we want it to go to stat, so it fits all the statistical data. Oh, sorry, I'm going to have to fix something here. So we're going to have to let this pause and go through. Okay, so I have more than one piece of data turned on. So hold on a second. Here I'm going to show you on the other calculator. So what ends up happening is, here's the curve. You can't quite see the points. Let me see if I can get the other one to go. Okay, let's try this again. Alright, so you're seeing the lines go. It should look a little different. It should look more like this. So, sorry, we're going to have to pause or fast forward until a few seconds, because I have to wait for this to go through the whole thing. Okay, so I need to go back and press zoom 9 for stat. So those are my points, and this is graphing the line. It follows them pretty well. This is the exponential, so we're going to see a slight curve, and it's hitting 2 points. Oh, and I only hit 1 point, so that's not very good. And now it's going to do the quadratic, it's going to do the parabola. And on the parabola, it's hitting a lot of points, but you know, the problem is these are the only points that we have. We don't have any points further over. So of the 3, I'm going to choose the linear. So which equation's the better fit? The linear. So how much coffee will there be for $10? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to press the y equals button. And remember, the first one was the linear and the other 2 we didn't use. So I'm going to go up here first and turn off the plot. And then I'm going to go down to 2 and 3 and clear those out, because I don't need those anymore. I just want the equation that I'm going to work with. So now what I want to know is use your calculator to predict how much coffee you can buy for $10. So $10, if you guys look where $10 is, it's somewhere in between 375 and 500 grams. That's our X. So what I'm going to do is go to second window for table set, and I want this to start at this 375 amount so I can get closer. Okay, so I just press second window to get to table set, and now I'm going to go to my table by pressing second graph. So I'm looking for around $10. So here we go. So it's right somewhere between 374 and 375 grams. So 374 to 375 grams. Now what I want to know is, if I buy 1,200 grams to stock up for the winter, how much would it be? So coming back to this, if I'm looking for 1,200, one thing that I can do is, again, just go back, to where this is 1,200. So I can go back to my table set, have it start at 1200, and then once it's ready, hit second graph to go to the table, and it will cost me $29.72 if I round that. And then what does the slope or the growth factor mean? Well, this is a slope, okay? And so what this means is, technically, is this is if X is my amount, so grams, and Y is money, then what this decimal means is I can buy 0.0239 grams for every, what is this in? Penny, maybe? 1 penny? $1? Okay? All right. Next question. So this one you don't need your graphing calculator for. So we're going to be talking about, you know, all these different things. So first I'm going to do some labeling on the graph. So first I'm going to graph my end behavior. So as X is getting smaller, Y is getting bigger. And over here, as X is getting bigger, that's always the right side, my X's are getting smaller. The other thing I'm going to do are key turning points. So, you know, this is going to be an estimate. I'm going to think that this is maybe -5.5 for X, and that my Y is -4. We'll just say -4. This other turning point is -2.5. This turning point, I'm going to say it's probably right about there. So I'm just going to round it to 2 and maybe -2.3. And then this one, I'm going to make it, let's see, maybe like 5.2 and 1.2. The other thing I need are all these places where they hit the x-axis. So this point is -3. I only need the x-coordinate. This one is -1. This is 4. And then this is 6. All right, if I want the y-intercept, it's 0, -1. All right, so the first thing I'm going to talk about are the positive intervals. Positive intervals are where it's above the x-axis. Whoops, I forgot this one. -7. And when I answer these questions, for the majority of them, I'm just going to use the x-coordinate. So it's positive here, here, and here. And what I want to do is work my way left to right and write the x-coordinates. So it's positive from -infinity to -7. And I wrap parentheses. And then it's positive from -3 to -1. And then it's positive from 4 to 6. So negative intervals are where it's below the x-axis, so from here to here, here to here, and here to here. So it's negative from -7 to -3, from -1 to 4, and then from 6 to infinity. And I'm putting parentheses, all of them. Infinity always has parentheses, but you know, this, we don't know who, for instance, the -1 goes to, the part above, the part below, so we wrap parentheses. So intervals of increase. Increasing is when it's going uphill. So here it's down, up, down, up, down. So increase, it's going to increase from my estimated value of -5.5 to, okay, so I got cut off there, finishing up this part. So it's going to increase again, as I was saying, from the estimated value of -5.5 to -2, so I wrote that. And then it's going to increase from here to here, so that's from 2 to about 5.2. And again, we're just using the x values, okay? So the decrease, I'll be looking here, and here, and here. And so when it decreases, it goes from -infinity to -5.5, so I write that first. And then it's also decreasing from -2 to 2, so I wrote that one. And then from here it's decreasing from what I thought was 5.2 down to infinity. So those are my three answers. And again, pause it, write the answers down. All right, the x-intercepts. Here, 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 and here. There's 5 of them. So I wrote 4 of them, and I wrote them with x-coordinate, or with the y-coordinate added as well. So I wrote for these. So -3, 0, -1, 0, 4, 0, 6, 0, but I forgot to add the -7, 0. Okay? So again, you can pause, write them down. The y-intercept where it hits the y-axis, that's 0, -1. And then I want the relative max and the relative min. The relative max are those turning points, or the min. So here's a turning point, turning point, turning point, turning point. So I've got 2 maxes and 1 min. So I'm just going to write this coordinate down and this coordinate down for my max. So that's all I did. And then I'm going to write, sorry, there's 2 mins, these 2 coordinates down for my mins. And the last part, the end behaviors, we actually did the end behaviors at the very beginning. What to do when x gets smaller, y gets bigger, and what to do when x gets bigger, y gets smaller. So you just write it like this. As x is getting smaller, my y or f of x is getting bigger. And as x is getting bigger, my y or my f of x is getting smaller. Okay? All right, next part, you're going to need a graphing calculator. So on this part, this was the very last thing that we covered, and the idea is I want to graph this, but I have 6 terms, and I've never factored with 6 terms, so I need a clue. So what I'm going to do is first I need to make, I'm going to first understand the shape, and since this is an odd power and 2 is positive, I know this is going to be a bumpy line going uphill. And then I need to make a list of numbers that I should technically be testing here, but I don't want to test them all, but I do need to make that list. So I'm going to take the factors of the constant, so positive and negative 1 and 2, and I'm going to put them over the factors of the leading term. And so when I do that, here's my list of numbers. So 1 over 1 and 1 over 2, so 1 over 1 and 1 over 2, and then I'm going to take 2 over 1 and 2 over 2. So here's 2 over 1, it's just 2, and 2 over 2 is 1. So this is the list. Some of these, maybe all of them work. I'm supposed to have 5 solutions. I have 3 numbers written, but there's really 6 here. So what I'm supposed to do is test. Does 1 work? Does -1 work? Does a half work? Does negative half work? And if it works, I should get 0 at the end. So let's set this up. I do have all my x's. I have a full countdown. And since I know I'm going to pick one that works, I should get 0 at the end. So how do we know it works? Well, what I did is I went ahead and typed this into my graphing calculator. So I went to the y equal button. None of my plots are on from what we did last. I shut it off. So I typed this whole thing in. And then I'll want to press zoom 6 so I can see what this looks like. So it's just thinking. It'll get there in just a second. All right, so, and again, if you can't tell, you know, kind of, let's get a little more focused. It looks like it's going through -1 and then something else, but I can't quite tell. So if you can't tell, and that looks like 2, but again, if you can't tell, go to your table. And, whoops, so now look, I'm at a place I don't want to be. So I need to go back to my table set. Second window, and I want it to start at 1. Okay? Alright, so now I'm going to go back to my table, second graph. Alright, so look, 2 works. And did -1 work? Yep, that worked. And the other one's probably the half, so I just need to pick one of these. So let's say we're going to pick, let's do the 2. So 2 is supposed to work, so I'm going to first bring the 2 down, then I start multiplying, adding, multiplying again, adding here, multiplying again, adding, multiplying again, adding, and I get 0. So again, one number, we go over one spot, and this is the remainder, and then this is the stuff I want to factor. This is the constant. This gets x, x squared, x cubed, x to the 4th. But again, we have 5 terms, and we've never factored with 5 terms. So what has to happen, and this doesn't happen very often, is I have to do this again. But this time, since this is what I'm trying to factor, I'm going to use these numbers. And I've already used 2. So real quick, I've already used 2. So because I've used 2, one of my x-intercepts is 2. And then I need to make the parentheses for it of x minus 2. So now I'm going to use the other number that worked. Another number that worked was -1. And I know it worked. That was in my list. I got 0. And so I should get 0 at the end. So bring down the 2, multiply, add them up, multiply, add them up, multiply, add them up, and that works. So now, remainder, constant, x squared, x cubed. So real quick, -1 worked, I got to make the parentheses for it of x plus 1. And now I'm going to take this stuff, I'm going to move over to the side here, I'm going to rewrite it. And I'm going to factor this now. And this has 4 terms, and when there are 4 terms, I do the factor by grouping. So I'm going to group the first 2 and the last 2. And I'm going to ask myself, okay, what can I take out of both of those? What can I factor out? And I can take out an x squared, and then I'm left with 2x here, and I'm left with a 1 here, which when I go to this set, they have to match. And it already is 2x plus 1, but you have to take something out, because when I distribute it back in, I need to get 2x and I need to get 1. So I'm going to put a 1 there. And now I'm going to add to my list of factors. So squishing in here, I'm going to add the x squared plus 1, the things on the outside, and then the matching set on the other. Now remember, I'm supposed to have up to 5 answers. So far I've got 2 of them. So what's going to make these 0? Well, let's start with the x plus squared plus 1. I'm going to subtract 1, and I'm about to take the square root of a negative number, which means I'm going to get, according to this, 2 answers. I'm going to get 2 imaginary answers. So there's 2 of my x's. And then I'm going to take the other one, and I'm going to set this one equal to 0. I'm going to subtract 1, and then I'm going to divide by 2, and my other answer is negative half. And then the y-intercept, go back to the original problem, it's negative 2. And then I'm going to graph the graph. And we can actually fit everything on here. Here's negative 2. There's my 2. There's my negative 1. And there's my half. And again, you guys, we graphed it on the calculator. So if we want to look at it again, you can see what it looked like. So the end behaviors, went down here and up here. And since all of my answers are appearing one time, everything's going to cross. So it's going to cross, and according to the picture, it just barely went over. And then, well, actually, and so in the graphing calculator, it went way down and then came back. I'm not going to do that. Sorry, I already started. All right, and we are good to go on that problem. All right, last problem. I'm hoping we can get this all in there, so we'll see. All right, in the piecewise functions, what I have told you guys to do is take this and label your story. So, actually, you know what? I think, unfortunately, I'm going to make this a new video just because I don't think I'm going to have enough time, so get the next one. Okay, so we're back. So I'm going to read the story, and I'm going to label my picture. So Michael's on his way to pick up Carlin for the date. After driving for 4 minutes, Michael gets stuck at a red light. So he drives for 4 minutes. He's stuck at the red light. So here he's driving. And now he's at the red light. And then he's stuck there for a very long time. And while waiting at the light, Michael realizes that he left his wallet at home and he needs to go home. So now he's heading home. Let's see, heading home. And it says, while on his way home, Michael hits another red light. So here's a red light. So I'm just going to put RL for red light. And then he hits the red light, and now again he's heading home. All right, and then when he finally reaches his house, Michael rushes inside and looks for his wallet. So here he's actually at the house, this flat line. And then he leaves his house once again, so he's back to Carlin, so he's driving. And then he gets one final red light, so RL. And then he's driving. And then at this point, he's at Carlin's house. All right, so how long did it take Michael to reach Carlin's house? Well, the x-axis is all my time. So when I look at when he finally reaches Carlin's house, that value, let's see, it goes 30. I can't quite see where that line's at. 32. It took him 32 minutes. How far away is Carlin's house? Well, here's Carlin's house again, and this is the distance. So if I just scroll over, it's 13 miles. This is in miles. What's the domain of time when Michael leaves his house? So he's leaving his house the first time to when he reaches his house to get his wallet. So remember, he reaches his house to get his wallet right here. So the domain in time, it's from 0 to 19. 0 I can give brackets to 19 shared, so it gets parentheses. So evaluate f of 28. So if x is 28, and x is your time, so at 28, right here, what does this mean? Well, this is a y-coordinate as well, so if I scroll over, it's this 10 value. So what it means is at 28 minutes, what's his name? Michael is 10 miles from home. All right, what's the average rate of change over the interval 0 to 14? So 0, this is referring to the x-coordinates. So 0 has a y-coordinate and 14 has a y-coordinate. So when x is 0, y is 0. And when x is 14, y is 1, 2, 3. So what I need to do is just average rate of change. That's just slope. So I'm going to subtract my y's over my x's. I'm going to get 3 over 14. You can leave it as 3 over 14. You can simplify it into a decimal, and that would be 0.21 and then over 1. So that's the average rate of change. And what do those numbers mean? It doesn't matter if you use this or use this. X is all about time. So it's how many minutes per mile. Y are the miles. And what's the total amount of time Michael spent at red lights? So from here to here, he was at a red light. So there's 1, 2, 3 minutes here. Here's another red light, so 2 minutes. And then here's another red light, 2 minutes. So he was at red lights for a total of 7. Sorry if you're getting dizzy here. 7 minutes. And that's it. That is your review for the final.